Okay, let's talk about how you finish the year. So at the time of recording, it is the 3rd of December. So if you haven't felt it already, we are starting to get into what I affectionately call crazy season. But it doesn't have to be crazy for you. And that's really the kind of message I want you to keep in mind as we go through what I want to teach you today in this episode. You get to choose what your experience of December is like. Now, if you're someone who's in the thick of it at work, you're very, very busy, there's so much to do, everyone wants to get it all done before the end of the year, you may be thinking, Caroline, you are crazy. I don't get to choose anything. I am just being like firefighting left, right, and center. This is not within my control. And I want you to hear me out. Listen to this episode, and it's going to get you thinking differently and really give you an incentive, right, to change the way you show up this year, this December, versus or compared to how you may have done in the past. Because your past and how things have been before does not have to dictate your future. And what I want to offer, or actually even your present, because we're talking about this year right now, and what I want to offer is that your experience of the present, you want that to come from the future that you want to create. In other words, it's all up for grabs. You get to decide. And I'm here to hold your hand and support you to do that. And in this context, we're doing it with the month of December. So inside Be the First, this is exactly what we've been talking about. And it's been an interesting time because I have rounds that are ending. So if you're new to me, I have a program called Be the First. That's my career progression program for mid to senior level Black lawyers who want to progress in the next 6, 12, 18 months. So if that's you, then you are absolutely in the right place and you want to get into that program right now. I'm going to be talking at the end of this episode about the next enrollment, so make sure you stay tuned. So inside Be the First, I coach you for 6 months. That is considered a round. And what happens is, as often is the case with my clients, they then renew for a second or a third round. I've got some clients on like their 5th round with me in coaching because they're making so much progress that we're applying all of the same concepts and philosophies and tools, but at the higher level, in bigger rooms, in wider rooms, right? So it's even more valid, even more important. So we're coaching in some cases at the end of a round, a 6-month round, but I'm also starting new rounds and new groups. So for another particular group, we're coaching the beginning of a round, the beginning of their journey, their Be the First progression journey. And yet the coaching I've been giving is the same when it comes to how they show up in December, okay? And that's what I want to share with you today so you get some insight into the kind of work we'll do together when you join Be the First this month, because that's when I'll be opening enrollment. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'll tell you about that at the end. So why this topic, other than the fact that it's December? Why this topic? Why this message, right? Why now? And the reason is because I see one of two things. Either you are really, really busy and feeling overwhelmed and exhausted and that like so much is being asked of you and you're just crawling to the end of the year, like waiting to just collapse into a big kind of heap and somehow try to recover back your energy before the new year starts. So maybe you're in that camp. Or maybe you're in the camp where actually things are a little bit quieter, you're a little bit low in your bandwidth and your energy and your motivation. And honestly, for you, the year is done and you are ready to move on, right? You're looking forward to some sort of festive break and you're ready to just be like, yep, 2025, we are done. And what those two scenarios have in common is they're a reflection of you running out of steam at the end of the year. I want you to think about this as if you were an athlete, right? I love sport as a metaphor for so much of what I teach, and this is a great example. Imagine you're an athlete and you're running either a marathon or an 800 meters or whatever race it might be. And then you're getting to that final 100 meters or that final mile or kilometer, right? And you run out of steam. And I want you to compare the experience of running out of steam at the end of having like performed at such a high level and worked really hard, running out of steam before you get to the finish line, versus having something in the tank, digging deep and finding something to get you to that finish line and finishing strong. right? And it's that difference I want to speak to you today. I want to take you from feeling like you're running out of steam, either because it's just exhausting what's being asked of you, or because you've just had enough and you're like, I'm ready to move on. I want to get you from feeling like you're running out of steam to you feeling like you are finishing strong. And that is my message to you today. And here's why that is. First of all, the feeling of not being in control is one which I hear from you that you find frustrating about being a lawyer, being a Black lawyer in this industry. Right? It's one of the things that keeps coming up as being a source of frustration for you. The feeling that you're not in control, that your career is something that happens to you, that pressure happens to you. Yeah, that your work, your experience of work is not what you would choose, not what you want it to be. So we're also resisting this feeling or this tendency to believe that things are out of your control. And if you know anything about my work at all, and even if you're new to my work, this can be a perfect introduction to one of the core principles that I teach you, which is there is so much that you can control. You need to be in ownership of your career. It's your career. And if you're not owning it, if you're not setting goals and heading towards them, then all you're doing is working really, really hard and heading towards and helping someone else to achieve their goals. So we want to save some of that for you, my friend. We want to focus on you and what you want in your career, not just the output that you are pumping out into the universe in support of other people's goals, okay? And this is something I come back to in my teaching time and time again. Let you take ownership. So that's really, really important. One of the things I want you to have and that you will get from doing this work of finishing strong. And the other thing is that we so often underestimate what you can achieve at the end of the year, right? Underestimate what's possible within 3 weeks, even in a busy time. It's a bit like when you think about time on a smaller scale. Let's say you are working against the clock on a particular project and it feels like you've only got a couple of hours left. Today, my eldest son, he's working from home and he's working on a project and he's on a tight deadline. I think probably as of now, there's about an hour left. So he's been doubling down. And his deadline was, he said to me a couple of hours ago, Mum, I've got 3 hours. It's got the amount I've got to get done in that 3 hours. And I was thinking about time and how there are times when 3 hours can feel like so much time. And there are times when 3 hours just feels like no time at all. And there's not much that you can do. And the tendency is to think in terms of scarcity for time. We think that we don't have enough time. And there's 2 things I want to offer you at this point. One is one of the key things that I teach you inside Be the First is how to be in control of your time. That is one of the key skills, core skills that you absolutely need if you want to progress to the next level. Remember, progressing to the next level means more work, more obligation, more responsibility, more people expecting things of you. So it's absolutely essential that you feel and you master the art of being in control of your time, right? So that's the first thing I want you to note about time. The second thing I want you to note, and we'll come back then to why this is relevant to who you are and how you show up in December, and that is that I've had times when I've been about to go on Zoom to deliver a presentation or deliver a webinar, and it's been discovered in the last 60 seconds before we go live that there's something wrong with the tech or with the setup, right? Or there's something wrong with the slide. So I literally have had scenarios where there have been 60 seconds on the clock. And because it's that constrained time frame and I've got to sort out a slide, which means uploading something, changing it, downloading it, getting in the right format, testing it, doing things that I would on a normal day think, that's going to take me half an hour, right, to do. Maybe not the particular task, take me half an hour to do, but me think I need more time. Actually, when I set my mind to it, I can do it in 60 seconds. And that was what came to me as I thought about our tendency to underestimate what we're capable of in the month of December. Already our minds cut short that month because we're thinking, there's, assuming you celebrate, right? There's Christmas and then there's New Year. So that's going to take out at least a week. And then nothing really happens between Christmas and New Year. And then in the run up to Christmas, I want a bit of time. I'm going to need to do some shopping. So we sort of write off half the week. And I just want to offer that's okay. I don't need you to change that. in terms of how you want to approach your downtime or your fun time. But I do want to change your thinking around what's possible for you before you properly switch off for the year. And that's what this episode is intended to help you do. All right, so here is the coaching I gave inside Be the First. It's what I want to offer for you today to take away with you over the next couple of weeks as we count down to the festive kind of holiday period. And the message is this: December is a month of opportunity. So don't peter out, finish strong. That's my message to you. Don't peter out, finish strong. Now, let me clarify what I mean by that. Number one, I'm not just talking about the professional, I'm also talking about the personal. So I want to encourage you to think of finishing strong as something you do in your whole life. It's like how you show up to your life rather than the things you do in your career. Okay? So it's personal as well as professional. That's the first clarification. The second clarification is that this isn't about working harder necessarily. It's not about doing extra hours, unless, of course, that's what you feel activated to do when you have this energy of finishing strong and it's something you want. There is nothing wrong with deciding to work harder, and it's something I've just decided to do, having done this work on for myself and in reflecting on my own life. It's I want to have 2 more weeks of working really hard and just squeezing the juice out of my December so that I finish strong. And I've just decided I'm willing to do that because of the time I have planned to take off and spend with my family and do all the personal fun non-work things, right? So working harder or longer hours is allowed, but this is not what I'm telling you is required. It's about thinking smarter, being strategic. It's about giving yourself permission to pause for a second, reflect on where you are and where you wanted to be, right? When you thought about the end of this year. Take a minute to reflect and make any adjustments that you need to make in order to get closer to those goals or smash those goals before the end of the year. So instead of Caroline's telling me to work harder, think that I'm telling you to work smarter. I want to encourage that thinking, that pausing and reflecting. And then the third clarification here is for those of you who are in the experience of having a lot to do and it feels like you're in firefighting mode, I still want to offer you that there's a way of showing up to that firefighting, which is you being in control, being in ownership, finishing strong, and then a way of you showing up to that firefighting and you being depleted and exhausting and collapsing at the end of the year. And I want you to choose the former. And the way I'd invite you to think about that is that if you are firefighting, that's the mode it feels like you're in at the moment, then your firefighting wants to be a response and not a reaction. Often we hear about firefighters and how they're the first responders sometimes on a scene. And that word response is so key because someone who's responding is someone who is in control. They're able to see what's going on and evaluate and make a strategic decision or take strategic action to resolve the issue in front of them. That's someone who's responding. Reaction is all about being kind of battered left, right and centre and not knowing whether you're coming and going and flipping from one task to another and it all feeling very chaotic and you're not in control and it's all happening to you. That's a reaction. It's something happens, you react, right? So I want you to start to think about and feel in your body the difference between responding to something, however urgent, however critical, however demanding, however much it is, and reacting to it and how that feels. And we want to aim for the responding one. And if you can be responding all the way to the end of the year, my friend, you will be finishing strong, which is exactly what I want you to do as a result of today's session. Okay, I have a process for you. I'm going to walk you through that process. There are 3 steps. And for step 3, I've got a couple of guidelines for you. It's the exact same process I've walked through my clients through inside Be the First this week. I've also been doing it for myself. So I want to share with you to see exactly how effective this is and how you can make it work for you as well. Are you ready? Okay, here's the process. So first of all, step number 1, what were your 2025 goals? Write them down. What were they? Step number 2, exactly how close are you right now? How close did you get to those goals? Step number 3, how can you finish strong? And to inform your answer to that question, how can you finish strong? I want you to think about like getting started on 2026 goals. That's one way of finishing strong. Or, and this I would probably encourage you to think about first, how can I get closer to my 2025 goals? Yeah, because remember, what we don't want to be doing is writing off 2025. We want to be getting closure as well as getting closer to those 2025 goals, and do that ideally first before you move on to getting started for 2026. And if you do this, I'm going to talk to you and give you an example of how I've used that for myself in a moment, but I just want to offer at this stage already that your willingness to sit down and ask yourself those questions that I've given you, your willingness to engage with those questions and think about what your answers are, get your answers down, reflect. What were my goals this year? How close am I? How can I finish strong in this December? Your willingness to do that is going to make such a huge difference to how you feel about this year, how you approach the new year, and what you achieve in that new year in 2026. It's going to be a game changer. For a start, you are going to finish on a high. You're going to have achieved more than you thought you would. Like right now, you probably have a sense in your brain, in your mind, of how much you have achieved this year, right? One of my clients inside the program was saying, oh, well, I've hardly done any of it. And he completely written off like achievements that he'd done, or written off, undervalued, like under-recognized, completely dismissed, actually, is the word, achievements that he has made. And what I want to offer is doing this exercise and really help you to sit in it. Almost forces you to sit in there, well, what have I done this year? So you are going to finish on a high by achieving more than you thought that you would in 2025, just through having asked yourself this question. Number 2, you're going to set yourself up for success in 2026. And how you're going to do that is this exercise is going to give you great clarity over your goal setting. For sure, when I asked you that first question, what were your goals in 2025? You will have sat in one of two camps. Either you'll know exactly what those goals were and you'll be able to turn to your notebook, open them out and go, yeah, let me think. Those were my goals. Or you'll be like, oh, what were my goals for 2025? I don't actually know. I wrote them down here somewhere. Oh, I didn't set any goals. Yeah, so you're going to be in one of those two camps. And what is beautiful about this exercise is it reveals to you the importance of getting clear on your goals at the start of the year. Of course, you're not going to hit your goal for 2025 if you didn't set the goal in the first place. And I'm talking about setting the goal as in, it doesn't have to be like follow this enormous formula for ideal goal setting. I know there are lots of different models out there. Feel free to choose one if it works for you. But I want to keep it as simple as possible. It literally is it's about saying, okay, what are the areas of my life that I care about? And where do I want to be a year from now in each of those? It's really that simple. So reflecting on your 2025 goals is going to reveal to you how important it is to decide and articulate and get clear on your goals for next year, right? Because without them, you're grappling around, you don't know, you can't measure your progress, you can't work out how close you are, you can't finish strong, right? You can't finish strong if you don't know where you're heading to. So that's a beautiful outcome of doing this work, is how it motivates you to goal set for the new year. Another beautiful outcome is the learning that you will take. So in this session, in the Be the First in the coaching rooms, what was so wonderful was to hear how my clients were taking, their evaluation of what their goals were, how close they were, and that automatically took their brains to, well, why is that? Like, why didn't I achieve that goal this year? Why was I only a 2 out of 10 on that journey or in that particular area of my life this year? What happened was automatically they started asking themselves the question of why, what was going on. And what that then led to was the solving for themselves of like, here's what I didn't do. Here's what I wish I'd done differently. Oh, here's where I allowed myself to be a bit lazy. Or here's where I allowed myself, lazy was my client's word, not mine. Here's how I allowed myself to be distracted or to fall off track. And what great learning for you going into the next year, right? Learning from the goals you didn't meet this year. You can take, as a result of doing this exercise and following those questions, you can take that learning into 2026 and be very clear about what needs to happen. So one of my clients was like, it's really clear. I need to absolutely, instead of just being in the work, I need to take that time. I need to carve out time regularly to work on my career, to think strategically about the assignments I accept or the opportunities that I seek and go for, the times when I put my names forward, the times when I pass over an opportunity, because it doesn't actually align with my work, with my goals. Right? So useful, so much learning from doing this exercise that is already going to make you more successful next year than you were this year. All right? Okay, so we've talked about the fact that you'll finish on a high. I've talked about the fact that you're setting yourself up for success in 2026. And the third thing is coming back to that feeling of control. When you start looking at your goals, start looking at how close you got to those goals, start looking at what's going to have to happen next year to achieve those goals, you are going to have such a sense of being in control that is just in its own right is so valuable as a way of going through the world and as an experience of working in this industry, right? So lots of advantages for you and lots of motivation and incentive for you to take this pause. By the way, I want to offer, you don't need a huge amount of time to do this work. Those 3 prompts I gave my clients in the coaching session, I gave them 10 minutes. 10 minutes to answer those 3 questions. And the revelations that they had and the insights they had were all within that 10 minutes. Of course, when you are inside Be the First, what you then have is the opportunity to share that with me. And I coach you on everything that comes up. I coach you on the areas that you're getting stuck. I coach you on any assumptions that I hear, like buried beneath those goals or beneath those reasons why you think you didn't achieve those goals this year. So you get obviously all the coaching and that helps to move you forward. But what I want to offer is you can get started really effectively on this work just by answering those questions with 10 minutes, my friend. Doesn't matter how busy you are, you can always find 10 minutes. You can find 10 minutes for anything, especially something that is this important, this strategic, and in service to your career. Okay, let's not forget, this is about you. It's about your career. It's about where you want to go. It's about who you want to be in the world and your relationship with the end of the year. So I wanted to share a few parts of my evaluation that I did for myself, right? So where I decided to, when I applied this process of finishing strong to my own scenario, I thought I would share some by way of an example to give you some ideas and suggestions as to how you might approach it. So 2025 goals. Remember that first question, what were your 2025 goals? Now, what I do for my goals is I separate my life into categories. I do this with my clients as well, and I want to offer, it's a great way of doing it, of setting goals in a way that can be really clear, okay, and precise and actionable. So I have 8 categories. You can have as many as you want. They are as follows: self-care, family, by which I mean my kids and my husband and my closest wider family, friendships, fun, so they're all categories in their own right, because for sure I can be doing my self-care but not necessarily having very much fun. I enjoy the fitness part of my self-care, but it's not like the kind of fun that just like lights you up fun. So I want to make sure that I'm creating time and energy and room for that in my life. I want fun to be a feature. For my family, for example, I want to make sure I separate that out from my friendships. So those are separate categories. So I've given you 4 so far: self-care, family, friendships, and fun. Then I have client results and business revenue. So I treat those 2 things as separate categories. Client results are when you join Be the First, it's like how often or how close or how far beyond your goal that I got you to as a result of you being in Be the First. Yeah. So I track that. That's a big success metric for me. I want to be getting my clients 100% results. That's my goal going into the year. So I always want to look at that. Like, how close did I get? Like, what results have my clients got from working with me this year? This is so important to me. And you'll experience that firsthand when you join. And then separately then business revenue. So how much am I bringing into the business? It's all around my business development. It's all around like the new clients that I acquire and the existing clients that renew with me. So I measure that. I'm tracking that as well. And then the final 2 are growth, which is a very important value of mine, to always be growing, always be learning, to be upskilling, to be just expanding my brain. And I mean that both professionally and personally. So like reading would be probably the most, is it the most? Yeah, it's probably the most regular form of kind of growth or strategy for growth that I have. So one of the things I measure and track is like how many books have I read this year, and I include like fiction books to just kind of broaden my worldview, and non-fiction books for learning new concepts and ideas. So I measure growth, right? And then the 8th category is ease. That was an important one for me this year, and will still be on my list for sure next year, that's because what I find for myself personally is how important it is that I'm intentional about doing things with ease, about finding an easier way to do things, not shortcutting, but not defaulting to what tends to be my habit or default, is to default to doing the hard work, the long hours, the kind of, the working twice as hard. So I know that about myself. So I'm always countering that with, how could this be easy? Or how could I do achieve both of these things at the same time, or with the same amount of work? So I'm always challenging myself to do that, and to have systems in place and support in place that facilitates me in my role. So I'm not doing everything. I'm an entrepreneur. I run a very successful coaching and speaking business. There are a lot of hats that I wear, and I have to be very, very intentional about delegating so much of that work, so that I'm not doing all of the things within all of those different roles and not having time for any of the other things that matter to me. So I've just given you an example. I've given you my 8 categories, so you can borrow those categories or create your own, but it's a great way of starting that exploration of what were my 2025 goals. And of course, as is logical, it's a great framework for setting your New Year's goals. So I will be using that framework to set my goals for 2026. It's what I've been thinking about this last week. Okay, so to the second question then that I gave you in this process of finishing strong. The question was, how close are you to your goal? And of course, right, that means you need to have some sort of rating. So what I did is I took all of those categories and I just rated them on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 was I absolutely smashed it with my self-care this week, for example, my self-care this year, for example, right? So 10 is like, yes, I smashed it. 1 is I did nothing. I completely neglected it, completely forgot about it. Now, I'm not going to run you through all of the different scores I have, but I'll just give you a couple by way of example. Self-care, I gave myself a 7 out of 10, which is not bad. Now on reflection, I think that's kind of stingy. I might have even gone for an 8 out of 10 because I started running again this year and that felt so good. So this is what I've written down. Self-care was a 7 out of 10. Fun, I scored a little bit low. It was more of a 5 out of 10. Now, I just want to caveat that with, I need to check one of my other diaries because I don't always remember. I can't all necessarily remember how much fun I had in the first quarter of this year. So there are a few things I still have to check, but just to give you an idea, that scored a little bit lower. Client results, 9 out of 10. I was so thrilled with my client results this year. Clients who were promoted to partner, clients who were smashing it in a new role, clients who were struggling and have found their way back after a really long time and are showing up now to work, feeling motivated, feeling like they are in control and have ownership, and that they can decide and create results for themselves in their career rather than their career be something that just happens to them. So that scored really highly. I'm so proud of the results that my clients have had within the program this year. And that's going to be you too when you join. So whenever you're ready to join, I can't wait for you to be part of those client results that I'll be celebrating this time next year. Okay, so those are a few examples of how I graded my categories. To answer that second question, as part of the Finishing Strong process, how close are you to those 2025 goals? Okay, to the final question, how am I finishing strong? So what I did was I wrote down a list of what I plan to do for the rest of the year to finish strong. Here's what's on my list, in no particular order. I'm going to PT to the finish line. So I work with a personal trainer. Her name is Holly. She's fantastic. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll often see posts of me outside in the rain, in the wind, in the dark. doing some form of training with her. And I do that religiously on a Monday afternoon. So I'm going to make sure that I literally keep PTing with her for as many sessions as she has this month. And I think we're going to do all except maybe one of them, right? So not sort of checking out of my personal trainings too early. I'm going to get 3 runs in by the end of the year, which should be absolutely achievable. I do have to watch with my running, not to overdo it too much, but even allowing for Christmas and travel, I can of course do 3 runs. And if I've done 3 runs by the end of the year, I'm going to feel immensely proud of myself. I will have the sense that I have finished strong. You know that thing, to go back to the sporting metaphor, where you see somebody and they've sprinted, they've given everything they've got at the finish line, and they get across the finish line and they're like, oh, wow, I gave everything I had. But like, they're so, yes, they are spent, but they're spent in such a proud way, such a kind of, yes, I did it, I gave it my all. Not, oh my God, that took everything out of me, I've got nothing left. It was like, yeah, I gave it everything I had. It's a very different mindset to be in. And that's the mindset I want you to have at the end of this year, because of how it's going to energize you to get going next year. All right. So 3 runs by the end of the year. I've got a girls' night booked out, as well as various other family social stuff going on. I'm going to finish the book I'm reading at the moment, which is called Ego is the Enemy. It's by, oh my goodness me, Ryan Holiday. That's his name. I don't know where that went. Ryan Holiday. I'm a big fan of his work. So I'm reading that at the moment. I'm definitely going to finish that. It's part of my growth, right? I'm going to open enrollment to be the first. Another part of my finishing strong. I could have just gone, oh, it's nearly December, I can wait until January and get people to join. No, we start now. We want to get signed up now. So we want to get you enrolled in the program now so that we can hit the ground running in January. We don't want to wait until January and it's the first week and we're not quite back yet. And then it's the second week and we're still like working our way up to it. And before you know it, January's gone. Nuh-uh. What we want is to sign up to be the first now, right? That's why I'm opening enrollment. Sign up to it now. So you've got it all set up. You can come back from your festive break knowing that everything for your career progression next year is already lined up. The wheels are already in motion because you in December decided to finish strong and set your intention for 2026. So part of my intention for 2026, or rather part of my finishing strong, is opening enrollment for 2026 so that you can do it. I'm enabling you, I'm supporting you to finish strong by enrolling in Be the First for next year. So I'm opening enrollment. I also have in here, you can tell I've done this in a random order, declutter my bathroom cabinet. That feels like a big win. Set clear goals for 2026 and write them down where I can see them. That was something that I didn't do last year. I obviously wrote them down, but they're in a book. I had to consciously go and look them up. And this year I want to have them visible. I have lots of like bits of whiteboard paper around my office and flip chart sheets on pinned to my wall. And I want one with my goals for 2026. I want to see them every day. Okay. So I want them to be more visible. And then finally, how I'm finishing strong is I'm going to do a proper project plan for next year. I tend to do a project plan for the first quarter and then I do it for the next quarter, but I actually want to map out just roughly, loosely, I want to map out the whole year. I'm just reaching a much higher level of execution and organization in my business. And this is one of the ways in which I plan to do that. Okay, so look, that's given you quite an in-depth insight into how you can apply this process of finishing strong with those 3 really simple questions, but 3 really powerful questions that you can do in just 10 minutes to ensure that this final month of December is an opportunity for you, an opportunity to finish 2025 like close to your goals than you thought you were going to get, but also set yourself up for success in 2026. I have had so much value from doing this, and I've seen, and my clients have shared even in the calls, how valuable that they have found it. Number 1, recognizing how far I have come. I mentioned that at the beginning, the importance of that. Recognize your wins from the year. Spend a moment to be in the success of those wins. Celebrate them. This exercise helps you do that. Number 2 It's also recognizing where you fell short. Like, I found it valuable to know and be able to see, I completely neglected this particular area of my life this year, and I want to like redress the balance next year. It also helped me to be honest about where I just didn't feel like focusing my energy. And I found that really valuable as well, because guess what? I can go into 2026 knowing that about myself, knowing the areas that I might want to skip or shortcut. And then I can set myself up, create the systems or get the support and the help in those areas where I know I am vulnerable to procrastination or avoidance, right? Or just not wanting to do it. I also found it incredibly valuable to sit and be compassionate with myself for where I am. And I want to offer that value to you too. This is not about judging ourselves for what we did or didn't do this year. This is about taking a moment to recognize how hard we've worked, recognize the results we've created, recognize how much more we have to learn and how much more we have to grow and what more we are capable of. And that's a beautiful exercise, but it is one requiring of compassion for where you are, and maybe even a little bit of patience too, if you are feeling frustrated about not having reached your goal. Enthusiasm, that's definitely an outcome from doing this work. Like the enthusiasm of making the last days of the year count. I feel so energized since I started doing Finish Strong. I went into the beginning of February. I went into the beginning of December thinking, oh, wow, October and November and the end of September, they were a lot. I'm finally at December. And it's like, so I was feeling quite heavy, and I was feeling quite like I was ready to be like, yeah, the year's done. But as soon as I got myself into finishing strong and working through this process, I felt so motivated. And now I'm so excited for the new year and getting myself really set up to succeed. Now, before I go, I want to warn you. I want you to be aware. I want you to anticipate the following. You might judge yourself for not being further along. You will not want to recognize your progress to the extent that you should be recognizing your progress. You might find this exercise uncomfortable, coming face to face with what you have done or haven't done, what feels like success, what feels like failure this year. And the risk to all of that is that you fall off track, or that you use that against yourself, you hold yourself back, and it demotivates you. And I want to offer that this is something inside Be the First that I catch all the time. Like when you join and we do this work together, I never allow you to undervalue your success. I'm always creating space for you to recognize your wins. I'm always reminding you and showing you how to access compassion for where you feel that you fell short or you were disappointed. And we're always working on learning from what's gone on, learning from what you've done, learning from past either mistakes or successes, and using them to fuel you into the future, right? So it's only ever a really positive experience for you at the end of the year, and really kind of, I don't know, all of my clients inside Be the First, they were more elevated, more empowered. I felt like it's almost like I could see that they felt more in control. It's hard to see a feeling through a screen, but I could almost feel their sense of ownership over where they are now and what they can do for the rest of the year, and then what they are going into in 2026. I want this to be you. This time next year, I want it to be you that I'm coaching on finishing strong in December. I want it to be you inside the program. So with that in mind, I want to remind you, as I hinted at before, that enrollment for the January class, January 2026, enrollment for the January class of Be the First, Career Progression for Black Lawyers, so mid to senior level Black lawyers, enrollment opens next week on the 10th of December. So if that's you, if you're a mid to senior level Black lawyer and you want to progress within the industry, this room, Be the First, with the coaching I give you, the coaching you witness and learn from and internalize, with the tools I teach you, the concepts you learn and the skills you develop in that program, this is the room you want to be in if you want to progress in the next 6, 12 to 18 months. All right? So I put a link in the show notes, in the captions, in the PS to this episode. I've put a link to the the page, the program page, which will tell you exactly what we cover, how it works, how much it costs. So all of the answers will be in there, but you can also just message me directly. You can just DM me, on social media and let me know, Caroline, I'm thinking about joining Be the First. Is it right for me? Any of those questions that you may have, there's a kind of an FAQ also on that program page, but I'm very happy to answer your questions. If you are one of those eligible black lawyers, so mid to senior level, and you want to progress within the industry. I can feel my voice going. So I'm going to wrap it up there now. Thank you very much for listening today. It has been an absolute pleasure, as always, to talk to you about, honestly, one of my favourite concepts, especially at this time of year, and that is finishing strong. So without further ado, I'm going to send you off to do your reflection exercises. Remember, just 10 minutes and you get all of that insight, all of that learning. You are so welcome. I'll be back this time next week. I'll see you. Have a beautiful day, evening, morning, whenever you're listening to this. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.